bit about your work.
Well, I'm interested and passionate, actually, about the most fantastic innovation man can make and produce, human beings and their behavior. And what we're doing, both in our labs and in our fieldwork, in advising governments and NGOs, is try to understand how our brains are functioning when we make decisions, what influences us, and why, in spite of being informed about the dangers of things, about what a good behavior is for the planet, why, in spite of owning this knowledge, we tend to do the opposite.
Very interesting. Please have a seat, Olivier. The three of you, what would you think are the prospects of really being able to change people's minds? Could we use behavioral sciences, or do we need more people, inspiring people like you? What paths do we take?
Can I answer just quickly first what I would say? I already mentioned that I'm talking to privileged people, and so it's aspirational, the thing I'm talking about. And if you can change one person in 100, direct their energies to something that gives them a great fulfillment in life. I use the example, I think the best advice I can tell people is to follow art. There's no progress in art. Don't try to catch the latest thing. It's actually not happening anyway. And so, you know, there's no progress. Leonardo da Vinci is modern. He's timeless. He aims at perfection. You can't go beyond that. And art is a window on the world. I don't want to talk too much about art, but this is what I would say. But what I'm saying is if you change the outlook of just a few people, others will follow. That is the way things are. Yeah, so that's the way I try to deal with it. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Olivier, I'm sure you agree with the importance of following. Have somebody to lead and somebody to follow.
Exactly. And what is really fascinating for me is how people like Vivian have managed to change the life of other people by being innovative and by creating and playing outside the box. What we're trying to do is not so much about changing minds. We want to change behavior, and we want to do it in a transparent way. For example, we can tell you that it's important to save a planet, to save energy, etc., but you're very unlikely to do it. Why? Because the vast majority of people have other things in their minds at the moment, but saving the planet. A lot of people on this planet are first thinking whether they are going to be able to feed their kids by the end of the month. And the planet, unfortunately, to some extent, becomes secondary, because we're thinking short-term because of the constraints. So how can we do this? I think one important thing is to make things easy. We need to design environments. You design fashion. We design choices and environments to make things easy to people. Example. Think about when you were in your hotel room this morning preparing to attend the convention. Have you seen this sticker or this sign reading, "In order to save a planet, please reuse your towels"? So basically you're given the right information and the right behavior to adopt. Well, if you just change the lettering and the wording by saying 55% of the people who occupied that room before you reuse their towels, you increase the reusing of a towel by 20% or so. Just with this simple trick. If you send electric bills and utility bills to people with what it costs, but also with information regarding what the neighbors are doing and where one customer is with respect to another person she or he knows, this has more chances to influence people than lecturing. Because, of course, think about our daily behavior. We're lectured all the time. Wear condoms, take your pills, buckle your seatbelt, etc., etc. And at some point, we might need some advice and prevention break. But also, we need strategies that allow us to adopt the good behaviors for our health and well-being, but also for the collective health and well-being. But again, as someone working in public institutions, NGOs, one of the first rules is to be transparent about the strategies that we're developing. And the key, again, is to try to change the behavior, not the mindset. The mindset would be something different. But just if we manage to entice people very smoothly and make their life easy in saving energy, sharing cars, being concerned about this or that can help save the planet, it's going to be a small step at the beginning, but maybe a giant leap on the long run.
What you're talking about, there's a sort of labeling for this, it's called green nudges, is that correct?
Exactly. This comes from Richard Thaler and Cass Sunstein. Richard Thaler is a professor of economics at the University of Chicago, and he's been advising President Obama, currently advising Prime Minister Cameron. And Great Britain has been very innovative in the sense that they created this so-called Behavioural Insights Unit in order to explore how behavioral sciences can manage to make different kinds of strategies in policymaking, which is something we're doing in France as well, in trying to improve the way we communicate about health prevention. This Green Nudges report that we published very recently and that is available for free, that I encourage you to read. Nudge, at the core of it, is the fact that we push a little bit people
gently.
Very gently in what we think is the right direction for the collectivity.
Vivian, can you see the nudging, the green nudging, being able to be done in the fashion industry more than what you're doing already? How could we help the customers make more sustainable choices when choosing their attire?
Well, I don't know. What Olivier is talking about is doing things surreptitiously, so nobody knows what you're doing, really, but then it changes their behaviour. And I, until now, have been sort of head-on telling people what I think they should do, and hopefully setting an example to an extent about some things. And I myself think that one of the big problems is that it's too much people, and I say do one thing at a time. People just say, I agree with you, Vivian, but then they don't do anything because there's nothing they can do. And if you just give me the chance to sort of have my mouth again and not really answer the question, I just tell people, do anything, one thing, whatever it is, fight for something, just one thing, and start to invest. Try to just read something instead of just sucking up, things like that. This is all I can say to people. I'm doing it head on, I know, but I would like to know how you influence people, because people, what we have as human beings, we have empathy. Human beings have empathy, I'm sure, more than any other creature. We can put ourselves in somebody else's place. How do you get people to realise that this faculty that they have, you know, is the best thing they have, and that they can use it to make a better life for other people? Anybody who's too self-absorbed isn't happy. They're only happy when they start to see how can they make the world better, how can they help other people. And people have that a great deal. And so I don't know, you know, I think it's great that you're getting people not to use the towels. I mean, if only, it's really, really good. And it all helps, I guess. I don't have any answer as to, except, you know, what I've just said.
I see there's no contradiction in being head-on and being nudging people.
No, but I have to say that we're doing it by explaining people what we do. We don't want to do it in their backs.
It's not undercover.
No.
It's totally transparent. But one way is to speak the language of people. I think one of the big problems in policy making these days is that a lot of people in charge no longer know what real people are doing on a daily basis. We need to look at what a daily basic behavior is and talk to people, or develop elements, toys, devices that talk to them in a language they understand. For example, smart meters at home. You would put electric plugs that, if you want to do your laundry at some point, gives you just green, red, or orange light to let you know whether this is the right time or not. Instead of telling people you're going to save X kilowatt per hour next month, just let them know with remote displays from these smart electric meters how much they are going to save next month, or whether they are going to spend more than the month before. Another example comes from a friend of mine. I'm fortunate enough to be a member of a Young Global Leaders community of the World Economic Forum. And my friend Mina Guli, when we were in Dalian, China, was giving us T-shirts reading, it took 2,700 liters of water to make this T-shirt. And the way she spread the information was way more efficient than any lecture she could have given us on that. But these things, this social comparison, they work across culture. Let me give you a brief example. California has decided that it would be better in terms of energy saving for people to use fans compared to air conditioning. So they tested on 4 groups of households. One group was told, if you use your fan, you're going to save $40 a month. The second group was told, if you use your fan, you're going to do something very positive for the environment. Third group was given information about the amount of CO2 that is going to be saved and not released in the atmosphere. And the fourth group was just told, this is what the majority of your neighbors are doing. And the fourth group was the only one to show significant change. And this worked also in China, with Chinese farmers. They were told and lectured about what the most more ecologically friendly practices for farming would be. And it didn't work. But if you would tell someone that some other guy, even 1,000 kilometers away, has adopted this ecological practice in farming, it was way more efficient in convincing the person. Hence, we'll go back to your point, Vivian, the empathy, whether it's intentional or not, but the thing that we're influenced by others, and this is not a problem. We should embrace it, we should use it, but again, be extremely transparent about what we do and inform people.
Aspirational is also the word we're using, you know, to set, examples of what's aspiration.
And not to be afraid to be role models and maybe stick our chins out a bit and show what we're doing that is sustainable.
And it's very important that these initiatives should be embodied by role models like yourself. We have an example in France in another domain. We kind of started the kind of Eat and Move program for dieting and promoting healthier behavior. And then the US started it, but they had a big advantage. The Eat and Move campaign was embodied with Michelle Obama. And they had a leader, someone people could identify, someone who made a change. And this is very important. This is why I'm so delighted that you're feeling so strongly about the issues on climate change. Vivian, thank you very much.
Can I say one thing before we finish?
Just need to invite questions from the audience, and I think we're almost running out of time.
Just because I forgot to say something, and I think it's important, and it's not what we were talking about, but it's to do with organised lying and business as usual. And what is happening regarding climate change is that all the time, politicians, everybody is talking about the symptom of climate change, which is the financial problem. That is the symptom. As long as we continue to talk only about the symptom and not about the problem, we're going to get into greater disaster. That's what I want to say. We can't exploit the planet much more cheaply, or have that much more cheap labour and a market at the same time. It can't happen. So that's why we've got the financial problem.
I was actually given a cue here that we will not be taking any Q&As. We're not allowed, shaking their heads, allowed to run on overtime in this session. I know we've been doing that a little bit before. So I'd just like to thank Vivian Westwood, especially, with a warm hand. And Lan Chue. And Olivier Oullier.
Thank you. Merci.
And please keep up the good work and keep inspiring us. And let's all step out there and be sustainable and role models at the same time. Thank you very much.